Thank you for joining me on my series, Empowering Goodness. Today I have as my guest Michele Rodri. She's a Holocaust survivor. If you would like to know more about her story, you can go to the link posted on this video. Hi, Michele.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine. I'm so happy. I was looking forward to our conversation for so long, and I'm so happy to be here with you today. You know, your story caught my attention because you've been through so much to a very difficult time in history, and as a child, as a very young child, you managed to move forward through all of that because of the goodness of so many people that in your life, right? And so I would like to invite you to share with us your experience of those moments that of those people that were in your life when you were a child that saved you.
Well, first of all, I think I really believe that it was because I was so young of the education that we got at home. The education that my parents gave us was religious, and we were a very close-knit family, and my three brothers and I were like one. And I think that in the hardest times of my young years, and even today, but even in the younger years, I think that what really made the darkness become clearer for me as a child was that I was talking to God just like he was my father. And I used to speak to him with respect, of course, because I spoke to my father with a lot of respect, but with no with respect, but I felt like he was on a one-to-one with me. It was a very, very special relationship that I had in my mind. And I think it's still today. I do the same thing. I speak to God a lot in my own way, because I remember my mother, who passed away many years ago, was always talking to God, going close to the window and talk to him like she would see him. And she would say that she feels so much comfort just speaking to him. So I think that this was an example that I had first, and then also the values that my parents gave us as children. But it was several people who were very kind to me, and some people were not so kind, you know.
Of course. Can you share some of those memories?
The ones who were really kind to me, like stealing a piece of bread. They saw me stealing a piece of bread at the bakery because when I was in hiding in this particular place, not in the convent, but in the other place, these people were very anti-Semitic, basically. They took the money because it was the money, but they didn't do it for the righteous thing, for the right thing to do. So they treated me very badly. But when I went out to the bakery and there was not enough food, in those days they had only bread by the pound in the country, and they cut the bread with a big knife, you know, an instrument that was on a counter, and then some little pieces fell down from cutting the bread. And I remember that the lady, who was a young lady actually, who was a servant there, was always turned her head away, seeing that I took this bread and I was stealing it. I really was. But I was hungry, and I could eat it on the way back to the place where I lived. And many times she would throw something else into the bread, an extra piece. She did, and to me, it was something heroic at the time, because I knew that she would lose her job if they would, you know,
I know.
Yeah. So that was one experience, and then I had another experience of the Mother Superior, who was so kind to me, who used to think that anything that I said was so wonderful. When we were talking together, she looked at me and with such kindness, and she would say to me, "Tell me some more stories, little stories of children playing in the playground and things like this." But she said to me something that I never forgot. She says, "You will do great things in your life," she said to me. And I said, "I can't do anything now." She says, "But you will do great things in your life."
It's
And
amazing. It is amazing for someone to inspire you to feel good about yourself.
Yes, and in circumstances as vile as they were, they were so frightening all the time.
Of course, what you experienced during those times must have been terrifying, right?
It was, because, I came from a home where I was actually spoiled because I was the baby of 4 children. My parents didn't expect to have a girl, and they wanted a girl desperately. So when finally I was born, they didn't know what to do with me. And my brothers were catering to me all the time, until my oldest brother passed away 3 years ago. He used to introduce me to people, and he would say, "This is my baby sister." I was 80 years old at the time, and he said, "My baby sister." But it's what I believe, that what you get at home is very important.
Definitely. I think one of the things you share with us is the importance of family, and
Yes.
how close you are to each other, that really strengthens you as a person, right? To go on.
Yes, and like my oldest brother, who saved my life, when I said to him, just a few years before he passed away, we never spoke about it, but we were so close to each other, and I said to him, "I never thanked you for what you did." And excuse me, he looked at me and he said, "You're my sister. I would die for you." So, this is something that follows me forever.
Right. It's a beautiful memory. You just mentioned that your brother saved you. Can you share that with us? How did he save you?
Well, did you see my film?
Yes, of course. But I want the world to know the story.
Well, he came into the triage camp and took me out, and was dressed in a German uniform. And because he spoke fluently German, not just any German, but he spoke the literary German, the SS man who was with him never questioned him, but he said, "I want these 2 children to come with me," pointing at me and another child. And he was smart in taking 2 children, because one would have been, thinking, why just one and why this one? So he just said these 2 children, and he just took me out. And when I said, and put me into this convent, and then for hours he couldn't speak in the car, and then I think he couldn't speak about it because he was stunned to the fact that he pulled it off, so to say.
Right. He was able to get you out of there.
Yes, he was absolutely fearless. Amazing. He had no fear.
Tell me, how long were you there in that camp?
3 months.
3 months. And can you share a little bit about how things were there at the camp?
It was very dirty. The hygiene was next to nothing. We were always scared because the Nazis were around and they didn't talk to you. They just, to me, they sounded like dogs barking. And they did everything to to terrify you. And adults were terrified. And as a child, I was
How old were you then?
7.5.
And the rest of the children were about your same age?
Oh, there were different ages, but there weren't that many children. There were a lot of adults more than children. And it was a triage camp. It was from there, they directed the people where they were going to which concentration camp.
Okay, so it
I
was
was never in a concentration camp.
So your brother was able to save you from actually ending up in a concentration camp. So
it would have, if he wouldn't have saved me there, I was going to maybe Auschwitz or Dachau or who knows where.
You know, you once shared, I read that you said to be silent is something terrible. Can you tell us what you meant by that?
Well, when I speak to students, at the end of my talk, they always ask, always ask me, what is your take? What do you tell us to do for this horror never to happen again? And I said, you know, if you see something that is not right as a child, if you see that somebody is bullying another child, don't just turn your head like you didn't see them, because you have to get involved. You have to go over and say, leave that person alone, or help them. Even if it hurts you, even if you might get a little shuffled around. Because if you do not say anything and you are silent, you are as guilty as the predator. Because you have the force, the strength to do something. In your heart, you know that it is wrong. So you must do the right thing. And if you do the right thing in life, you'll get to the right place in the afterlife.
Thank you. You know, that is so true. And sometimes we hold back from actually coming out and doing good things because we're afraid, you know. And I think the example of your brother is so amazing and so courageous. You know, he dared to go in and dress as an officer and get you out, save you. You know, sometimes we need to have it in us to come out and do the best we can to save somebody, right?
Absolutely. Like, you know, I have had an experience here in the United States. And I had a cramp in my leg, and I fell down on the street, and my legs were over the street, over the side of the street, and cars were coming like crazy. People were walking behind me and nobody stopped. And I turned around and I said, can you please help me? And they went by just like, I couldn't get up because the cramp was so severe that I couldn't stand on it. And they just walked by like they didn't see me. Mm-hmm. And I thought, how is that possible that people can do this?
They totally ignore your presence and your suffering.
Yes. And you know, I mean, I am not a saint. I am a human being, and I do things the best I can. And I mean, the other day I saw a cockroach. I picked him up and I threw him. I put him in the ground. I picked him up because he would have been run over by something, or by a bicycle. And I took the cockroach and I put him in among the grass. I don't know if he survived, but it was out of my hands.
Right, you saved him. So that's good. That's good.
Whatever time the poor thing had to definitely.
You know, you just remind me of something. Life is important and sacred. All life is, right?
It is,
and
absolutely.
I always defend life, all human life. At every cost, we must save life. You know,
absolutely.
And stand up for it and defend it and protect it, because I think anything that destroys life is wrong. You know, and so. I think your example is amazing, and thank you for doing that. Thank you for saving that cockroach, because I don't know that I would have done that myself.
And I tell you, well, I did not pick him up with my hand. I picked him up with a piece of paper that I had in my purse, because I was not that happy to have him my hand. But I said, no, you go in the grass, and that was it.
That's where you belong, okay? Very true. You know, I guess maybe that teach me a lesson that, and because I'm always speaking about how we must include others that are different from us, that are maybe don't think and look, and we don't like the way they look. And this is a way that we must reach out to everything that is strange from us, and think about how that life needs to be respected, right? And so
absolutely. And you know, just a little thing that you do in your life, sometimes it carries you through so much. Like for example, I remember, just coincidentally, I remember there was a little girl and it was in a drugstore, and she wanted a piece of bubble gum. They used to sell these pieces of bubble gum by the piece, and she had a couple pennies were missing for her to. She started to cry because the woman behind the counter said to her, "You have 2 pennies missing." That was years ago, and I couldn't understand that this woman couldn't give her that child that little.
The 2 pennies.
The 2 pennies, or take it out of her purse, or not having it in the cash register and put a little note, 2 pennies are missing, or whatever. And that poor child was crying her heart out.
It's
so
amazing.
Then when I walked out and I saw her, I said to her, you know, bubble gum is not really that good for you. I said, how about an ice cream? That's healthier than bubble gum. So I bought her an ice cream. I'm sure this child never forgot me.
Definitely. You know, it's unfortunate that we get so blinded with rules and I don't know, that we don't realize how distant we are to humanity in that moment. Yes. You know, she didn't see the child and how devastated the child was. And so yes. Thank you. Thanks for you. Thank God for people who are see this, you know, we can open our eyes and see this human reality and can be there for that child, that person that needs us. Thank you so much, Michele. You know, I want to just conclude with, you know, how things are today. I see that our world is really going through a very difficult time today, you know, and people are really hurting in so many ways. I see abuse of power and abuse of their anger, and people just don't know what to believe or who to believe and what to do. And I just wanted to ask you, from your experience, what is your message to the world today?
I have only one idea in my mind when this whole mess started, this uproar in the world, and so quickly. I had in my mind, God had said that he will never destroy the world again and not have the Ark of Noah. But I think that he is sitting on his throne and watching the world and giving us little hints. Don't do it. Be kind to each other. I am afraid to tell you what I really feel. I feel there's going to be another end of the world if humanity doesn't take a look at themselves.
Yes, you know, I see ourselves auto-destroying ourselves, you know.
That's what I mean.
By not caring for one another, by not
right.
reaching out and coming together as one people and helping each other, you know. And so I definitely think God's mercy is amazing and there for us. But we need to do something to come together as a better community.
We need it to show God that we have faith also. And you know, the mighty dollar is the enemy. Everything is around money, money, money. Everything is money. But money doesn't make you a good human being.
True.
So I think that we need more kindness, and don't turn your head away when you see something. Deal with it. You don't have to become a hero, but just do something good once a day and you'll feel so much better. You know, it's amazing.
Totally. The power of goodness. And
yes.
That's what it's about. Bringing out the best in us so that we can encourage others to do the same.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Michele. Thank you so much for sharing yourself, your experience. And and I think that I hope that from your experience we can all get inspired to do similar as you are, to have that kindness in you, to help others, anyone, in any way.
I am not a saint, believe me. I have my own little things, and I am aware of it, but I try not to do anything wrong for other people.
That's the truth of all of us. We're no saints, but we definitely are working and being better every day.
That's right. That's right. And if we want a piece of chocolate, God lets us have a piece of chocolate.
Let's have that chocolate.
Right.
Gracias, Michele. Vaya con Dios.
Vaya con Dios usted. Thank you so much.
I hope my conversation with Michele has inspired you as it has me, especially in her advice not to be silent when we see something is not right and not to turn away when we see someone in need. In a world with so much darkness, it was the goodness in others that saved her. In our world today, it will be the goodness in all of us that will save humanity. And if we want that piece of chocolate, let's have that piece of chocolate. Vaya con Dios.